So within 8 weeks of contracting COVID, I had severe myalgic encephalomyelitis and periodic paralysis.
She's a good example, though, of someone with ME/CFS plus all the comorbidities.
So currently I have myalgic encephalomyelitis, mast cell activation syndrome, multiple chemical sensitivity, POTS, and dysautonomia. I do have an underlying genetic disease that was latent, was Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. The falls kept happening, and then my blood pressure started going up dangerously high every time I stood up. We invested in this, and it was $5,000 out of pocket. And it absolutely has been my lifeline. My prognosis is not great at all. I have the extensive damage that I have, despite being considered a mild, non-hospitalized case, is staggering, and we're still uncovering the damage.
I'm Morgana. I'm a humanitarian photographer and filmmaker, and this is my husband, Jaco. He's a helicopter pilot. In 2014, we were living in Liberia, West Africa, when the world's largest Ebola outbreak erupted. I helped PCI Media share Ebola survivor stories through radio, TV, and social media, reaching nearly 10 million people. It helped curb the spread of the virus by driving changes in attitudes and behaviors. I saw the impact the storytelling had on communities in the middle of the outbreak. So when COVID-19 started spreading where we lived in 2020, we began documenting and sharing stories of COVID-19 survivors in New York to spread awareness about the disease. But we decided that wasn't enough. We wanted to show how COVID-19 is impacting people across America. So we moved out of our New York apartment and we moved into a 19-foot trailer so we could document COVID-19 survivors in all 50 states in America.
Long COVID is still disabling millions of Americans, keeping as many as 4 million people out of work.
Long COVID has forced a reckoning for one of medicine's most neglected diseases. Only a couple dozen doctors specialize in chronic fatigue syndrome. Now their knowledge could be crucial to treating millions more patients.
It's a little busier than it was last time we were here.
Activists in Washington protest for those suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome and long COVID.
Yesterday, there were over 444,000 new cases of COVID around the world and over 43,000 new cases in the United States.
After more than 2 years of publishing data on COVID cases on a daily basis, the CDC announced it would shift to weekly updates.
Oh, it's so good to see you guys.
So good to see you.
And I'm upright. I'm walking.
That's
I'm
awesome.
Upright.
Yeah, this is really nice. Wow. It does smell brand new in here, actually, too.
We could live in here.
We could live in here.
We could live in here.
Come on in! From the sounds of it, it sounds like things are a lot better than, I mean, just seeing you walk, right? Is like, is amazing from the last time we saw you. So it's fantastic.
I think that being at sea level, being able to sit up is a huge difference for my quality of life.
This is amazing right here. Just being able to get through most days.
Yeah, I'm not in bed very much.
No.
I mean, I go to bed and I rest if I need to. We've gotten a lot of quality of life back. Yeah. I didn't think I would ever do anything like this.
I know it. Look at that.
Leaving my house. Of course, I didn't think I would move across the country 3,300 miles away either.
It was kind of fun, actually, now that we look back.
I know.
Well, like, you mess with the wrong people. We're just reckless enough, we're like, screw you, screw this. And,
Dying? What do you mean? Nope, not happening. It's really sad that people don't have the ability to do what we did. I mean, you just sell everything, and that's it. You know, and walk away from a job and careers and family and a house and security of that at a minimum. But to me, it meant nothing anymore. It was a prison. My home and all of those things that we thought were the American dream had become an actual prison.
Trying to maintain it all was in vain because it was the end was always going to be the same. Cheryl was going to get worse and die at some point or give up trying.
Yeah.
And okay, we held on to the job and we held on to the house and
our roles as
our family role at what cost? I wasn't going to do that to her. That's when I realized we had to do this. I wasn't going to let her suffer alone or die in vain if that's the way this went. We always joke to this day we're going to do Thelma and Louise off the edge of a mountainside when the time comes, when we know we're out of options and we've tried everything.
We are together in it all. We are ride or die together. But I don't remember much of last time when you were there at all. And not that that's anything interesting. I don't remember commercials that were on yesterday. But it'll be fascinating to see the difference because I can't put myself in that place anymore. I know in between the first year and this year, we've made a lot of progress in how we live and how much we've adapted to this. And I hope that continues. I hope that we can continue to find a value in life despite this and no matter what. 5 years will be a gift. I haven't thought about 5 years. Anything past 3 years to me is a gift. So if I'm still fighting this battle in 5 years, then I hope my story's been told and has done some good. And I hope that whether I'm not here to fight this battle, but if I am still here, I really hope that the stories like mine have benefited the world somehow, so that in 5 years we're not living this.
Why do you say that if you're not here?
The expectations of my decline is as rapidly as it's happening. I've been told that 3 to 5 years is the expected maximum quality of life I will have. My decline over the last year was so rapid, and then it's continuing, and they don't really know why. So currently our projected outcome for what I have for quality of life left would be 3 to 5 years if I continue on this course. The chances that I'm going to survive this long term are very slim. That's what's given us the freedom to go chase the dreams in Oregon. I did not remember any of that.
It sounds like someone out of hope. It really does, like just saying the words with no confidence that, you know what I mean? Like there's any chance of having any kind of quality of life or hope.
No, that was definitely tried to come up with words that can make other people come up with words that didn't sound as hopeless as I felt.
Right. Because that was it. We were at the end here. It was decision time to do something basically all in. We can't stay. We can't keep doing this because we already know the way this is going to end. It's going to end
like that.
Just like this shows right here. That was pretty much could have been protracted out a few years or a few months. That was the way it was going to look right in the end. So I think it's what's changed for us coming out here too is that we saw this as the option that we made the most sense to improve our chances as much as possible, and we did it. It almost will, I think, I'll say this now because we're not there right now, but it'll make whatever happens, even if it's something that doesn't turn out the way we hope, a little bit easier to take in the long run because we didn't hold anything back in our relationship or in our lives, you know. We just knew we had to leave and go somewhere else.
Essentially it was like, okay, this is the end. How does that compare to where you are now?
Oh, it's amazing, and it's night and day. The last 8 to 10 weeks in Vermont it was day to day. And all I kept saying over and over was, I don't want to die in Vermont. I don't want to, if I die in Oregon, I can die in Oregon. I'll be okay with dying in Oregon. I don't want to die thinking that I missed that last shot that might give me some hope. And that was it. I think that's what got me here, was just, I'll die in Oregon, but I'm not dying in this bedroom. That's what kept my fight going. So for our story, it was, we both got sick, all of us, our family got sick in March of 2020, very early on, and he never got better. And then within 8 weeks, I was fully bedbound and in and out of what was called periodic paralysis. Unable to tolerate food, incontinent at times, seizures had developed, my stomach shut down, my whole GI system would seize if I tried to eat anything. Sometimes my throat would close before I could even swallow, so I wasn't able to treat any symptoms. I wasn't able to treat anything. By August of 2020, my weight was plummeting. I was in the low 90s for my weight. And I would be walking and I would all of a sudden collapse and lose the ability to speak, to urinate, to defecate on my own. My husband would be holding my head and could do nothing for me. And I could see him, but I couldn't speak and I couldn't respond. And we would just wait like that until I could come back around. And there would be times that would happen and he wasn't around. There was a lot of times that would happen and he was not around. And you just sit and wait. And I would just sit and wait and wait and wait and try to come out of that. And that got to the point where it was really, it was a torturous game to try to survive. And eventually we found a specialist who was able to diagnose long COVID, myalgic encephalomyelitis, mast cell activation, multiple chemical sensitivity, and a whole bunch of other things. And started trying treatments, and the treatments made me worse because I couldn't tolerate the actual medications. I was told I was too sick for a tube feeding and that I couldn't tolerate IV nutrition. And I was told to just hang in there. And that was kind of it.
We were down into the commode in the bedroom because it was maybe 3 or 4 steps tops that Cheryl could take without risking injury to herself. And, you know, especially when I was out and about during the day, we needed to build the safest plan within our 4 walls that we had.
Yeah, and if we drove and traveled, I was wearing Depends, and and that was kind of it. There was no quality of life.
I could see the end in front of me. I was like, I am not going to be able to carry this load much longer. I am just about spent. And it was actually my supervisor at work. We had a Teams meeting, and after the meeting, they said, "Hey, Joe, hold on, we want to talk to you." And they said, "Are you okay? Because you don't look okay." And it was the first time I ever said, "No, I am falling hard." And that was my first leave of absence that I took, and I never really came back after that.
We really threw in and said, we're going to live like I'm dying. I mean, that was the kind of thing, you know, we were planning bucket list stuff now.
Essentially, you were preparing to
die.
Yeah. Will you explain kind of where you were at and what you were essentially planning, and where are you with that now?
In Vermont and in Oregon and a number of states in the country, the one option outside of hospice is death with dignity. And that is something that instead of hospice, where you kind of let your body naturally do things, you can choose a day and a time that you're done and ready to be done. The one condition you have to have is that 2 physicians both have to sign off and agree that there is no options left for you. That was definitely the choice that I had made, and my physicians were supportive of that. That was what I put in my end of life plans, and we had my physicians in there, and we had everybody, like, it was all ready to go if I chose to use it.
I am Cheryl Eleanor Russo, signing my last will and testament.
And it wasn't it's not an idea of giving up, but when I made that choice, something in me shifted and changed, and I got hope. That was the little bit of hope I had, because I knew that I was not going to be stuck suffering endlessly for years and years and years on end. That if I really couldn't, if my body was just done, I was not going to get locked into paralysis. The hope that I finally was given was through Death with Dignity. That if it came to that point where I wasn't coming back from that I was given freedom. This wasn't something that was Cheryl was going to get hopeless. This was strictly, if I knew, and everybody knew, Joe knew too, if I got locked in like that I was to get let free.
That's when our search kind of for options shifted, like Cheryl said, like that she wasn't going to be stuck forever in that condition, just suffering. So once we found the death with dignity option, we were like, okay, well, what other options are there non-medically based? You know, like we were going to all these specialists hoping one of them would have an answer. Well, once we kind of started thinking like, well, okay, there's no medical options, but what other options? And one of them, of course, was, you know, basically packing up and going somewhere else and just giving up this whole life that we've come to know. So that's kind of what really shifted the landscape of where our mindset was. Like, we were going to be locked in, because we were locked in and hunkered down and fighting this thing tooth and nail. You know, we were going to come out ahead of it one way or another, and that was a hard admission to think that we couldn't do that, you know, because we were out of answers and doctors were out of ideas, really.
And that did play into where we went. The one place we had never been in the country was Oregon. We always wanted to go. We had been to Washington and we liked that, so we flew into Seattle and we drove down the coast, and we had 5 stops planned. And we found, when we landed in our city that we live now, I felt so good. It was immediate. It was an immediate shift once we drove into that city and we stayed in that hotel. I woke up the next morning and I felt so good. It was really strange. I started feeling like it felt like poison was leaving my system, but I knew I was going to be okay. We actually canceled the rest of the places that we were going to stay, and that was it. That was home.
So yeah, we signed up for the next adventure with no guarantees, but we were just going to try something different, because what we have just done for the last 2 years did not work. It got us through to a certain point, so we cut loose, and this is where we are right now in Eugene, Oregon, you know, so who knows what tomorrow holds, but I'm glad we came this far at least. Ooh, look at this.
Oh, what a neat path we found. Oh, this is the beach. The beach.
So you do campfires down here.
Oh, I don't know.
So inclined.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, this feels so good.
So what other things are working treatment-wise? What is helping, making you feel better?
For me, not much has changed there. The one big key piece that has changed treatment-wise, still can't do any medications, but I can do compression therapy. And when comes to the EDS and POTS and dysautonomia, that is a huge component. That was the beginning here that I knew my reactivity was way down, because I could put compression socks on, and I got one pair of them on and I was like, oh, this is like heaven. And I was up kind of walking and it felt very different. And so within like hours, I had ordered a full cat suit. I was like, if I can do it, this is the way we're doing it. And as soon as I put the suit on, I could breathe.
What have you learned through this experience? What are your biggest takeaways?
That's big. I don't know how much time I have left. I could be tomorrow, it could be who knows what at this point. I know that whatever time I have left will be spent with a level of illness and having to seek out quality. And so with that time that I have left, what's important to me? And that's what I do. Every day, I ask myself, what's important to me today? And it is an everyday question. I go to bed with that sort of thought. What was important to me, and was I able to accomplish even a little bit of that? Part of that is making sure in some way, shape, or form, it doesn't matter whether it's online, in person, whether it's my spouse, whether it's a stranger, whether it's a homeless person, is there some way that I can make that day a little bit less painful for somebody? Because there could be, I know how many times that a simple message from somebody across the world was what made me feel value in my world and made me feel valued as a human being. It's not the big stuff. It's not all the things that I may have done or not done in my life. It's not the failures and that stuff. It's how many people have I met in my life, in my world? How many lives have I touched that I made them either better or worse? It's a conscious decision. Everything we do is a conscious decision to either add to the discomfort in somebody's life or to just try to make it a little bit easier.
Joe, do you want to say anything?
I think Cheryl nailed it, you know. My biggest takeaway from this is that there was no way I was going to let Cheryl live in vain in Vermont, and that she was worth it. 100% was the right decision for us as a couple to do this, because at least we can say we tried. We're not asking for any guarantees, and you know, you're worth it, sweetie. I love you. Yeah.
It's been a journey. No regrets about this part.
No regrets.
So I want to ask you the same question I asked you before. Where do you think you'll be in a year? And where do you think you'll be in 5 years?
You can answer first and then I'll answer.
Where we'll be in a year?
Where do you think we'll be in a year?
I hope we're still at the same place that we're at in Eugene, living in the same place. But I really hope Cheryl and I just focus on each other and just don't forget these awesome things that we picked up along the way for us as a couple, because it really has brought us closer together and we are the best version of ourselves now than we've ever been in a holistic sense, you know, as our beings. And I hope in a year we're even more so, because we're both excited to learn, to grow, to be more of a ally for each other and for others in situations of need. So I picture that, and then in 5 years, that's when we'll be starting to look about our RV options and stuff like that, and planning that last, you know, I'll be in my early 60s by then, so I think we'll be dreaming that last dream of planning some kind of mobile operation to live out our remaining years. So, but I picture like when I look forward, I picture Cheryl and I together in okay health, living modest, simple, simple kind of lives with each other and for each other.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to hear your partner say the exact same answer you'd have, because in a year, I want to be exactly where we are now. 5 years, I want to be in my super suit that's going to be coming, my EDS super suit. And I really have a dream that we will have explored some RVs by then, and I go back and forth between the RV and like, I want a little house on wheels. I know that's because of this. I'm like, we could put wheels on this and this would be really cool. I think my brain just shut off.
Yeah.
I think my brain just shut off.
You did good.
I think they're in a completely different place now, and that's really encouraging. I hope it's hopeful for other people who are dealing with long COVID and ME, because they have actually improved and you can see it very clearly.
She said she doesn't think that she'll ever get back to where she was, but she's gonna live with some issues for the rest of her life, and how to live with that.
I think another thing it really makes me think about is what really matters in life. They repeatedly talked about how everything got stripped away, and what's left when you don't have the house, you don't have the pool, you don't have all the things that distract us and entertain us, the show, the presentation. You just have each other.
You gotta grieve the old and kind of embrace the new, right? Because they had to leave all of that behind and let it go. Because I think Joe mentioned that it took a while to kind of get used to the idea of leaving everything that they worked for. And here they are, kind of with each other and the basics, and they're loving it. Yeah, they're happier.
And I think that's it. Like you can see there's a real joy, a real happiness and contentment, despite everything that's going on around them, because that's in a way all they have left.
It makes me appreciate life. It makes me appreciate and grateful and thankful for, what we have right now, and what we've done. That, as much as we don't have, a fixed place that we call home, and things like that, I really think we are living life, right? And we've traveled to all the states. We've been around the world. We've seen things that other people have never seen and may never see, It just makes me so much more grateful for that. And not taking that for granted and seeing it as a blessing. It just makes you appreciate what you have even more. Because again, we don't know. We don't know how much time we have left on this planet. And I think that's kind of where they're at right now, is that they are making the most of life, and trying to do the best they can and enjoy it, however they can with what they are dealing with long COVID. So, and yes, they're older and they've had more experience, but they're not that much older. What's beautiful about Joe and Cheryl is that they, you know, you take everything away and they have each other, and it's working for them, and they are like best friends, and like no matter where they at in life, they would always have each other and be there for each other, no matter what. And I think that's beautiful, that's powerful.